where did you start? What made you want to get into it? Obviously, again, you cover the Gamecocks, you cover Clemson. I believe you went to University of South Carolina, though, and you are a graduate. But just kind of, if you can, I guess, I know it's been a long one, but summarize your career in sports media in South Carolina and also Sports Talk. I mean, where did that come about? Again, you guys have been running for 36 years strong, I believe now. Longest running show, like I said, in South Carolina. Just kind of, if you can, summarize, break down your path in sports media, if you will.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it simple and short. So, just growing up, playing a little ball here and there, but just a huge sports fan as a kid. Started reading the sports pages at a very early age, and I was just smitten with sports. I don't know why. It really wasn't deeply ingrained in me and my family background or anything like that. I just moved in that direction. So anyway, I go to USC and I major in journalism. I'm over on the broadcast side of things and start working in radio. Got my first internship as a junior at South Carolina in 1977, working for a guy named Bill Wagey at the old WIS radio, which is WVOC now. And I mean, he was fantastic. And one of the first things I covered was the South Carolina Clemson football game of 1977, that great game at Williams-Brice Stadium. And my job was to go into the Clemson locker room because Bill covered the Gamecocks. So he gave me a tape recorder and he said, walk in there. And he said, you'll see a bunch of naked guys walking around and just look for the ones that look like they played and stick your mic in there. And that's basically what I did. My first interview was with Ken Calicut, the Clemson running back. And he looked like a guy who had played. I didn't know who he was. And I just asked him a couple of questions and off we went. So internship, and then, graduated and got into radio. And like you do in the business early on, moved around a little bit, started out at a daytime station in Ridgeland, South Carolina, worked back in Columbia at WVOC, WIS, moved up to the upstate, Greenville, Spartanburg. And then in 1984, a guy named Don Williams, who was working with the South Carolina Radio Network, which was formed in 1978, he created this statewide sports talk show called SportsTalk. And he knew me from my work, and we kind of knew each other, our paths and crossed here or there. And he contacted me and said, I'm putting this show together and I want you to be a part of it. At that time, his job was working with the Gamecocks as well. They had the rights to the Gamecocks. And so he was Bob Fulton's right-hand man. He did play-by-play. He did the sidelines. He did basketball. He did baseball. And so my job was to come in and cover Clemson and be a fill-in host and do high schools and recruiting, NASCAR, things like that. And so I said, yeah, man, let's do it. And so I joined in September of '84 is when we launched with 11 radio stations. And I mean, as they say, the rest is history. We've been going ever since then. We're at 28 radio signals now. You mentioned the streaming and everything. We came to realize that that's, a lot of people are doing what you're doing. They're looking at their laptops. They're looking at their phones. They're taking YouTube and putting it up on their big screen. It's their alternative way of getting our show when they can't hear it over the radio. I always stress, number one, our radio stations. They're the most important outlet to me. And that's what I always encourage people to go through. But there's times when you can't get it, or they've cut away to something else, or you've left the state. You can't get us that way. So the streaming has become an integral part of what we do. So, and talking about things coming full circle. So, I worked for South Carolina Radio Network from 1984 through 2019. And over that period of time, we had different owners. We never had ownership from anybody in South Carolina. It was always out of state ownership. Tennessee, up in the Northeast, we had Florida owners. Our most recent owners was Learfield IMG. Well, it was Learfield. They merged with IMG late in our ownership. So anyway, they closed our offices in Columbia. They shut down the network on January 28th of 2019. They called us in and asked for our keys. We knew what was going on. So what I did was start my own company, and restart the network. Took about 3 weeks to get the stations back on board. So I actually own the network now. So you talk about coming full circle. I always worked for somebody, and now I work for myself. So it's a lot different than it has been the previous 36 years or so. But it's a great adventure, and it's kind of for a guy that moved on down the road a little bit, it's kind of re-energized me and got new enthusiasm to try to build this new operation.